We got a major update for Jalen Ramsey trade rumors as we progress further and further into the offseason. And I would argue that the update that we received on Jalen Ramsey is actually great news for the Miami Dolphins and Dolphins fans. I'm Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. We're going to break everything down, and we'll get right into it because Barry Jackson kind of consolidated the quote from Adam Schefter. But on Wednesday evening, when ESPN was talking about the schedule release and other NFL news and rumors out there, Schefter said that there's more interest in a Jalen Ramsey trade than people realize, and that a trade could be announced in June. But he did also note if a trade gets agreed upon in the month of May, it wouldn't be processed until after June 1st for cap reasons. And this is big time for the Fins in multiple ways. One, them 100,000% waiting till June 1st for a trade because that gives them more cap relief, because if they traded beforehand and processed it, it would kill them financially. But also seeing that quote that there is more interest around the league in a Jalen Ramsey trade than people realize, that's massive for Miami because they could maybe get a return for Ramsey in a trade that is better than what most fans expected out of a trade this late in the offseason. We're going to talk more about it here, but make sure you are following me over on Twitter/X at Nic_Rohloff, because when a Jalen Ramsey trade inevitably happens, we will have you covered with the news over there prior to making a show and going live here on the channel. And guess what? If you follow me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff, the first 5 people to follow me, I'm giving you a shout out on a show coming up. Now, unfortunately, the good news when it comes to Ramsey isn't the fact that he is returning the Fins. I know it's been reported, rumored that if this dragged on, there was maybe a very slim chance that Miami and Ramsey can kind of reconcile things and have him play on Miami this upcoming year. That's not going to happen. The only thing that we will be talking about when it comes to Ramsey is where he will be traded and when it will be announced. Now, that June 1st date is so important because the financial implications are just absolutely massive for the Fins. As you see here from Spotrac, if the Dolphins were able to wait until after June 1st, you get cap savings for this upcoming season, and the dead cap wouldn't be as bad. If you traded him and processed it prior to June 1st, you have a cap hit of $29.2 million, which jumps up from 16.6, and you have a $12.5 million cap loss. So I am very happy that Miami is holding out until June 1st. They, in trade negotiations, have likely told teams, hey, we'll talk Ramsey. We can agree to a trade in principle, but just know for your cap situation, for our cap situation, that ain't getting finalized until after June 1st. And I don't know if they are hurting their return in a trade by waiting till June 1st due to the financial implications, but I would rather get a worse draft pick back from whatever team you trade Ramsey to by like a round, say if you get a 4th round pick now, but it's a 5th rounder in a month, I would rather get a 5th round pick and save money in your cap rather than get a 4th rounder now and it hurts your cap, especially when that draft pick doesn't help you this year because, well, the draft is obviously already passed. We'll talk about what teams I think could trade for Ramsey and what compensation could ultimately look like, but I want to get your thoughts down below. Predict the team that trades for Jalen Ramsey. Where will Jalen Ramsey be playing in 2025? Get your thoughts down in the comment section. These 5 teams have been heavily linked to Ramsey for a while now. The number one team that consistently is brought up when trading for Ramsey is the Los Angeles Rams, a team that he has played on before. Remember when he was traded from Jacksonville to Los Angeles and obviously traded from the Rams to Miami a couple seasons ago. I think the Raiders are a team. The Philadelphia Eagles have to always be considered. There has been buzz about the Buffalo Bills potentially being interested. And I don't know if the Lions actually are interested in Ramsey, but their roster is a win-now team and could use some more secondary help with rookie or second-year player now, Terrion Arnold. The Rams are the most likely, though. though. There's no doubt about that. They desperately need secondary help. They can play him in the nickel. They can play him on the boundary. They can even move him to safety if they wanted to. There's familiarity, between Ramsey and Los Angeles. Sean McVay has spoken very highly about Jalen and wanting to add the leader and competitor that he potentially is. So to me, it seems most likely that the Rams trade for him. I know I put the Bills on that list. I would not trade him to Buffalo unless they were offering quite literally a second-round pick and they blew you out of the water with their offer, because I'm not helping out our division rival. And I think a trade pick or comp could be better. I originally thought that a 5th-round pick was what Miami was going to get back in 2026. I think you could get a conditional 4th-round pick right now. What does that mean? Now, I don't know what the conditions would be in this hypothetical, but it means that if you traded them and you put conditions like the Rams make the NFC Championship game or makes the Super Bowl or Ramsey's a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro, that could change the pick. So if you say, hey, if Jalen Ramsey's an All-Pro and the Rams make the playoffs, those are the 2 conditions. Well, it could jump from a 4th-round pick to a 3rd-round pick. If those conditions aren't met, it stays at a 4th-round pick. The truth is this. The more interest that Ramsey has in trade circles, the better the trade return. That could ultimately net you a straight-up 4th-round pick or a conditional 4th-rounder like I just showed from the Los Angeles Rams, especially if the Lions and or the Rams are interested, because if the Rams want Ramsey, but they catch wind that Detroit or Philly are also in conversations with Miami, that may force the Rams' hand to come in over the top and guarantee themselves Ramsey, because they don't want their competitive rivals at the top of the NFC like Detroit and Philly to get the services of Ramsey to help bolster their defense. So you can create a semi-bidding war, not one that's going to generate you a guaranteed day 2 pick in all likelihood, but one that could be very early in day 3 or one that has the conditions I mentioned to get you potentially into the late day 2 portion of the draft. This is why you subscribe to the channel, though, because we'll update you on all Miami Dolphins news, rumors, trade, doesn't matter what it is. We're 65 subscribers away from 69,800. Let's get there ASAP. And as I consistently mention, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because if Ramsey gets traded, we're going to go live on the channel and break it down. So join us today. All right, as we get further here, if we transition, we stop talking about what Ramsey is going to be traded for and blah. It's what does the Dolphins do after that, right? Because this cornerback room, I would already label as a bottom 10 corner room in the entire National Football League. So if you take away a veteran 30-year-old Pro Bowl caliber corner like Jalen Ramsey, well then Cam Smith, Storm Duck, Ethan Bonner, Jason Marshall Jr., and Kader Kohu can't headline your corner room. I mean, that's just an absolute disaster. So if you trade Jalen Ramsey, it's an inevitability that you will ultimately sign a corner in free agency. And I'm not even just saying one. I think the Dolphins will sign multiple to make sure that this isn't the worst cornerback room in the NFL. And I know Grier and this coaching staff may have a little bit higher hopes for Cam Smith than I do, the 2023 second-round pick from South Carolina, who has done absolutely nothing to this point in his career. But I cannot trust him. And if the coaching staff could trust him to be CB2, I'm going to have serious concerns about that. But as pointed out by Neil Driscoll, who does an excellent job covering the Fins at times on Twitter, he said that right now, after the signings of the draft class, Miami has $13.8 million in cap space. That is without Jonah Savignaya, by the way. Now, if you traded Ramsey and had that cap savings that we talked about earlier, you can get up to $23.7 million under the cap in June. Well, that gives you the ability to sign 2 or 3 impact free agents, because if you are a free agent still here right now available, you are not going to fetch probably more than $8 or $9 million per season. Some might be multiple year contracts, like a 2-year deal. Some and most are likely just 1. So to me, though, if you have $23, $24 million in cap space, you can either use that to sign 2 or 3 free agents, whether both secondary members, all secondary members, and offensive linemen, and still give yourself some room going into the season. So you have some flexibility here. Going to talk about which free agents it could be here in a second. But grab your hoodies today. I love this hoodie, the white Dolphins one, where it has the GoFins, the palm trees, the Dolphins logo. I love the color. On sale. It's on clearance right now. $40 off when you go to chatsports.com/Dolphins hoodie. That link is in the description and comments of today's video. One more time, chatsports.com/Dolphins hoodie. Grab yours today. A player that we have consistently mentioned when it comes to acquiring in free agency is Rasul Douglas, the longtime Packer who played with the Bills over the last 1.5 seasons. Well, those rumors heated up this week as well when Barry Jackson dropped the note that Douglas actually visited Miami Dolphins headquarters last week. It wasn't reported by anybody at the time. And the Dolphins and Chris Grier actually offered Rasul Douglas a contract. So it's clear that they want to sign Douglas. They want to add him to this group, but they offered him a specific contract. And as we are currently speaking, he has not signed that deal, which means he wants to see what else is out there or does not feel like Miami is offering him the money that he deserves. Now you're risking it as he has visited a team in Seattle, the Seahawks, since he left the Dolphins headquarters. And it's hard to imagine that the Dolphins came in with a hot offer to Rasul Douglas, considering that he was one of the worst corners in all of football last season. And that might not provide confidence to you for him being added to this roster, but unfortunately, he is still one of the best corners available. But he did not have a good season last year. I mean, he just was absolutely picked on consistently. 124.1 QB rating when targeted. That just is abysmal. That can't happen. Allowed 4 touchdowns. And he was specifically really bad in man coverage as well. Now, Rasul Douglas is a primarily zone coverage corner. I think everyone knows that. But the Bills ran a lot of man coverage last season, which is why his statistics, I think, fell off a little bit. You have Taron Johnson and Christian Benford there who was really good in man coverage and not as good as zone. Like, you see the zone. Like, it still has its issues. Still didn't have a good QB rating, but he was graded out much higher in zone coverage and compared to man coverage corner. The completion percentage wasn't bad. Yards allowed wasn't bad. Yards per catch wasn't that terrible either, just like barely below average, which is why he's still a free agent. If we could actually show the man coverage stats one more time, Dylan, because these were absolutely horrific. Like, take a glance at this. Remember, look at the zone coverage, but now look at the man. Worst or second to worst man coverage grade. Completion percentage in the bottom 11. Yards were about halfway, and same thing with yards per catch. But he was just so bad in man last season. Now, luckily, when you think about the Dolphins and what they run about 65, 68% zone coverage, about 21% man coverage in terms of what they do when they're in pass coverage. But I think Douglas could be a solid fit on this Dolphins football team, but you have to know if you sign him, he is going to be a zone guy, and you can't trust him to play man consistently at this stage in his career. So be the GM. Take Chris Grier's job for me. Would you sign Rasul Douglas knowing everything you know right now? Type S if you would sign him. Type P if you would pass. Get down in the comment section and let me know. I said that I would sign multiple corners in NFL free agency. So let's take Rasul Douglas out of the equation. Who are the top corners outside of the veteran? Well, these are the top 5 names. Stephon Gilmore, Mike Hilton, James Bradbury, Shaquille Griffin, and Asante Samuel Jr. Now, there is a polar bear on this list, that being Asante Samuel Jr., the 25-year-old former second-round pick out of Florida State, who has been good throughout his career. He just has been dealing with a lot of injuries, and I know that might scare some Dolphins fans away from wanting to sign the former second-round pick. Well, we actually did get an update on Samuel Jr. from Jeremy Fowler saying that he is waiting till sign because of a surgery that he received in April. He has visited the Saints, and he's going to probably visit a lot more teams so those teams and headquarters can cross off and check off medicals and either feel comfortable or not feel comfortable with it. But it sounds like he is going to sign with a team in mid to late July after having a checkup on that neck surgery that he had in April. He does plan to return to the field. Unclear if he would be ready to play in September or it would be like a return in October or November. But I'll be honest, this doesn't scare me away personally. Like, if I had a perfect plan for the rest of the offseason, I'm signing 2 corners, and I'm fine with one of them being Rasul Douglas. And I would sign Samuel Jr. as well. Because to me, you just need to take high upside swings. And Samuel Jr. at this point is as high upside as you can get. It may not work out in your favor, But due to his injury concerns, you're going to get him probably for a 1-year, $5 million contract, so it really doesn't kill you. If you sign Samuel Jr. and Douglas, you can hopefully have Cam Smith have a breakout in year 3, or at least hold it over until Samuel Jr. returns in week 6 or 7, potentially. You pair Asante Samuel Jr. with Rasul Douglas, Cam Smith, Storm Duck, Kader Kohu. Maybe you get some contributions from another UDFA or Jason Marshall Jr. It's not like the worst in the world. It's still a bottom half corner unit in the NFL. Yes, it is. But if you took Jalen Ramsey off this roster right now, your cornerback room would be the worst in the NFL. So at least it would be improvement on that end. And as I mentioned, whenever moves happen with the Fins, whether it's a Ramsey trade, a Dolphin signing, we'll have you covered here at the channel. So make sure you're subscribed. But also make sure you follow me on Twitter/X at Nic_Rohloff. Because like I mentioned, if a move happens, we will tell you about it over there before making a video about it here on the channel. So go give me a follow.